Welcome to UBook channel. Read and listen to the greatest stories that mankind has ever told. From Iliad to COVID terror, and other famous classics. Enjoy the best world literatures throughout history.
COVID terror. Copyright 2021 by Gerry de Cadiz. All rights reserved. A unified Al-Qaeda and Islamic State took advantage of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic in reinvigorating its jihadist cause for dominance and the re-establishment of a caliphate. King of Jordan, Abdullah bin al-Hussein, said, "The world's Muslims have a critical role in global understanding. Our faith, like yours, commands mercy, peace and tolerance. It upholds, as yours does, the equal human dignity of every person, men and women, neighbors and strangers. The outlaws of Islam who deny these truths are vastly outnumbered by the ocean of believers, 1.6 billion Muslims worldwide. In fact, these terrorists have made the world's Muslims their greatest target. We will not allow them to hijack our faith."
COVID terror. Chapter 4.
National 9/11 Memorial. New York City. November 11, 2019. The words of Barack Hussein Obama II sums up the essence of benevolence in times of crisis. Arab philanthropist Aaron al-Hassani gave his most charming smile to the gathering in front of him. It is a cold Monday morning in New York City, but he insisted to have this program be done in one of the most historic landmarks in modern times. About a dozen were seated in makeshift chairs, forming an outdoor conference set up along the North Pool perimeter of the monument. The National 9/11 Memorial and Museum is at the World Trade Center site, the former location of the Twin Towers, that were destroyed in a series of 4 coordinated terrorist attacks by the group Al-Qaeda against the United States on the morning of Tuesday, September 11, 2001, which resulted in 977 fatalities, over 25,000 injuries, and caused at least $10 billion in infrastructure and property damage. The reason why we are here is to signify my support to Nadia's initiative. I believe that it is a noble act to provide the resources to an advocacy that helps women and children victimized by genocide, mass atrocities, and human trafficking, to heal and rebuild their lives and communities." He waved to Miss Nadia Murad. The diminutive yet famous Iraqi Yazidi human rights activist was awarded in 2018 with the Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts to end the use of sexual violence as a weapon of war and armed conflict. Of course, such endeavors won't be realized if not for the involvement of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. That's why I would like also to encourage the UNHCR to further strengthen its mission of protecting refugees, forcibly displaced communities and stateless people, and assist in their voluntary repatriation, local integration, or resettlement to a third country. Aaron glanced briefly to Mr. Adamirallo, the UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador representing the UN Commissioner in this particular event. We are in a world full of uncertainty. Every day, our lives are affected with issues on political destabilization, economic meltdown, natural disasters, famine, terrorism, and epidemics due to unheard of viruses. But these are not reasons to forget our collective responsibility for each other as a human species. A resounding clapping and smiles emphasized the group's approval. He opened an executive planner, and retrieved a single piece of check, and placed it on the table. Therefore, I would like to invite everyone to witness the transfer of $2 million to the account of Nadia's initiative, as a donation to finance its various activities. May this humble support be of help to realize the mission of the organization. After writing the monetary amount, date, and the payee on the check, he signed it. A navy blue Yamaha YZR-M1 cruised along the scenic vista of Highway 1 in San Simeon, California. The quaint, coastal town features secluded hikes along coastal bluffs, wildlife sanctuaries, and wide-open beaches. Hot Ice decelerated as she approached the Piedras Blancas light station. The historic monument was built in 1875 to warn mariners of the rugged, rocky coastline. The place was home to Native Americans, who used resources from both land and sea to thrive here hundreds of years ago. European seafarers named it as Piedras Blancas, after the distinguishable white rocks they used to help them navigate the shoreline. Whenever she got a day off from the office, Hot Ice would frolic this place. The marine sanctuary boasts of kelp forests, quiet beaches, elephant seal habitats and tidal pools. The rustic environment reminded her of home. It feels like half a decade since she visited her hometown. Palo, in the eastern seacoast of the central part of the Philippines, has been a quiet but culturally rich municipality, so typical of a population established by the Jesuits in 1596. The town of Palo in the province of Leyte saw a boom in its economic life, after the reconstruction efforts of the government and international agencies, due to the damages caused by history's strongest typhoon, Hien, locally known as Yolanda. A childhood that was molded by a pious and conservative family got a turnaround, when she started her study of the program Master of Business Administration at Harvard Business School. The liberal and carefree American lifestyle was too much for her. She even tried, and won in a major world beauty pageant, representing the Philippines. Hot Ice became a moniker since then, her friends' way of describing a pretty face with shapely figure, but a personality with a sober and unpretentious demeanor.
There's a job opening that is exciting, and it involves a lot of travels. Dr. Jean Ashpen, the secretive professor in Planning Communications and Digital Media course, approached Hot Ice after getting her MIT diploma. "I will try if I can make it." It turned out that her unique abilities in cryptoanalysis, and a character that could easily fit into any situation, were valuable to the recruiter. "You will be inducted in the training of the National Clandestine Service. It will prepare you to become a paramilitary operations officer, and be able to engage in intelligence operations abroad, that may take place in hazardous or dangerous environments." The interviewer at the George Bush Center for Intelligence in Langley, Virginia, oriented her to the task ahead. In the succeeding months, Camp Peary became her home. Hosting the Armed Forces Experimental Training Activity, and colloquially called the Farm, it was here that the basics of becoming a company officer is being drilled to the life and mind of the trainee. To compensate her lack of background in combat arms and military special operations, senior agents bring her along to some sensitive operations. The next phase was on competency in ground, air, or maritime missions. As a skilled agent, you need to possess an extensive combat service experience, and foreign language proficiency. You must be familiar also with the culture and the socio-political situation of places where you can be deployed. Her trainer was very insistent and never accepted any excuses. The CIA gave her a daily dose of exercises to master the national language of the permanent members of the UN Security Council. Even still on training, she would be required to visit a certain place abroad for intelligence gathering, and at the same time let her acquire an extensive experience on foreign travel. In the final evaluation, Dr. Jean Ashpen instructed the most important lesson in intelligence. You must be an excellent judge of people's character, and possess a high degree of common sense, flexibility, integrity, and honesty. After months of rigorous training, she became part of the Central Intelligence Agency, assigned to its Special Activities Center. A tactical paramilitary operation abroad gave her the experience of dealing with fear and violence, as it included clandestine, or covert operations with which the U.S. government does not want to be overtly associated. She became the coordinator of Project Yan Bayat, that Dr. Jean Ashpen hatched in 1990s to train, finance and guide a jihadist from Jordan, to fight against the Taliban in the Afghan civil war. Abu Musab al-Zarqawi proved to be useful to the U.S., doing with efficiency his assignment of sowing discord and violence in the Middle East, especially in Iraq. However, after the 9/11 attack and the ensuing war on terrorism, the Sheikh of the Slaughterers, as al-Zarqawi consequently became known, went underground. The task went to Hot Ice to search and track his whereabouts. Hot Ice got him by accident. She was on vacation to Thailand with her friends. The country is known for its reconstructive procedures among tourists. In one of the clinics in a village near the Burmese border, a companion got interested in correcting an undesirable feature in her face. Perhaps to encourage them to give a hefty tip, a technician started talking about one of their clients, who stayed for 3 months to physically transform himself. The giveaway was in showing them the picture of the man, before and after the operations. For a considerable number of bucks, she was allowed to take a series of pictures to the profile, as well as a copy of the official receipt of the client's payment. But it was only in 2014, that Bangkok agreed to offer additional information, on a certain tourist from New Zealand. Back at Langley, the number that the client provided to the clinic for contact of follow-up checkup, was traced to be in the United States. By now, he is a successful and well-respected businessman. The man seems to have transformed. Any attempt of the CIA to learn any secret dealings of the man point to nothing. The CIA Deputy Director Gene Ashpen got a plan, honey trap. This is a stratagem in which an irresistible bait is used to lure a victim. And the bait is Hot Ice.
She applied for a clerical job, at the company of Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. Within a short period of time, she was given a series of promotion, until such time that she became part of the management structure. About 2 years ago, he started making advances at her. Initially, she refused, but Dr. Gene Ashpen insisted that if she won't give in, that will blow her cover. The Sheikh of the Slaughterers, no longer in his tattooed body and brusque manner, but a gentleman with fair looks, started to take her to dates and outings. He even got her into confidence, by allowing her to take charge some operations in his company. The masquerade went on pleasantly, until such time that she even invited him to her apartment. At first, she thought that it's about her part in Project Yan Ba Ya, but as time goes on, he seems to be emotionally attached to her. During Christmas of 2018, she was invited to visit his rest house in Vero Beach, Florida. Early November is a dry winter in Hubei province. Most personnel and researchers usually go home early. Carrying a backpack and wearing a fur-lined jacket with matching denims, boots, mittens, and hood, it's almost twilight when Sixi re-enters the WIV compound, and proceeded to the laboratory. I'll be on overtime. I can only focus in my experiments when the place is quiet, she told the guard on duty upon login at the gate. May Wenti, Dr. Siddiqui. Just ring us for any assistance. The guard saluted and waved her through the barrier. In the last 3 years, this is a typical routine of the Muslim scientist. Upon entering the laboratory, she noticed that no one is around. A text message she got earlier from WIV colleagues invited her to a dinner at Han Cafe, to formally welcome the Filipina scientist. She politely turned it down, citing her religion as an excuse against attending social parties. Deep within, she doesn't understand why she loathed the newcomer. Probably because of her being a Christian, or maybe due to professional distrust. But I'll try to keep it to myself, all these preconceived prejudices, she thought. Before their team embark on actual clinical studies, she wanted to have an advanced understanding of the research problems. Despite having seen the microscopy image many times, a brief look of the new virus would satiate her curiosity. The Pakistani scientist read in detail, an article that Gwen published in Elsevier's Advances in Coronavirus Journal. Based on Scopus abstract and citation database, it garnered several hundreds of mentions, mostly on the findings, that the virus strain indicates significant similarities with the SARS-CoV. She agreed with the analysis of Japan's NIID, particularly noting the attribute enhanced binding affinity to ACE2 of the latest coronavirus. Although the International Committee on Taxonomy of Viruses haven't decided yet to name this new discovery, a lot of scientists worldwide are suggesting to call it simply as Virus X. A virologist from the University of Montpellier even suggested a scientific name, calling it Deadlier viri, in honor of its discoverer.
All of us in WIV have a top-level security classification and full access authorization. Director Joe reminded everyone after their technical discussions this afternoon on the research problems and proposed methodology at Wuhan University. Each member of the team was given an assignment based on field of expertise. It means that we can use all instruments and equipment in the laboratory, as well as utilize any sample specimen stored in the Jinku. We'll officially commence our research on Monday.
And so, Sixi took the sample and studied it thoroughly. When viewed through the scanning electron microscope, there is no mistake that the new viral strain is that of SARS-CoV. But if you read the genomic sequence result, there is a profound difference between the two. The analysis shows an observed aberration, most likely due to bacterial mutation in the spike protein, and fluctuation in the number of certain amino acids. She was startled by the shrill ringing of her phone. It is almost 9 o'clock in the evening. Dr. Siddiqui, a certain Sharifiyah from the Wuhan Qi'iman Mosque in Wuhan district, is here to fetch you. They are showing us an official invitation letter, signed by the Imam. Are we going to send them to you? The guard inquired with a concerned voice. Maybe an emissary from the elders. Please let her through. Wuhan is the largest area inhabited by Muslims in Wuhan. She cannot remember anyone with that name, but if it's an invitation coming from Imam Jafari Tayyir, she will definitely honor it. The scientist readied her things for leaving. She placed again inside the digitally controlled metal canister the Virus X specimen, and activated its locking mechanism. As she was about to shut down the SEM equipment, two strangers appeared in the doorway, a European lady and a man, probably native to the place. Masa Alker, Dr. Siddiqui. I'm Sharifiyah and this is Jian. She motioned to a man beside her. Alhamdulillah. What's the urgency of your coming here? Sharifiyah gave her the letter, handwritten in the official stationery of the Muslim cleric. Imam Tayyir request for your presence, in a meeting tonight at the mosque. The elders need to address an urgent issue about our community. Sixi became suspicious. As a scientist, she is being held in high regard by the Muslims in China. Usually, the Imam would call her directly, if she is summoned to attend in any community activity. I will call him first, she said with a shrug. She's about to pick up her phone when suddenly, Jian jumped at her and covered her mouth with a wet handkerchief. The last thing that Sixi remember, is smelling something noxious and collapsing on the cold floor. The task given to Hot Ice is in managing the manpower of the company. In this capacity, she has an access to the files of each employee, and could inquire their personal background. It appears that the job is perfect to her cover, as a deep penetrating agent. She meticulously looked into the documents and papers that passes her office, but nothing reveals anything unusual. All employees, from janitor up to the managers and vice presidents, were legitimate personnel, whose previous employees or schools can vouch for them in detail. The business is starkly clean and its owner, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, under disguise in a new name, can be portrayed as just any typical and ordinary citizen, who wants to earn a living for a good day's work. There's only one place that she hasn't accessed yet, the office of the business owner. There were instances that she wanted to make an attempt, but at the last moment, she'd back out because of his sudden appearance, or that of other employees. A break came when he was on travel abroad. A sudden notice from one of the company managers, led him to book an evening flight to Amsterdam. Earlier of the day, they were still discussing some strategies on manpower development, to respond to the need of hiring more for the newly opened factory in Johannesburg. I have the approved list in my table, of those who will be sent to Riyadh for training. Please send it to the organization to confirm our attendance. Sir, there's nothing in here except your planner, she replied over the phone. The other line went silent. She thought the call may have been cut. But after about a minute, he came through. I think I placed it in the drawer. You just open it. The key is inserted at the base of the study lamp, he said with hesitation. When she opened the drawer, the document is there. But there is one object which caught her attention. It was a green satellite phone that she hasn't seen being used in any of their meetings. This could be an instrument for exclusive communication. In her training at the farm, they were taught how to clone a caller ID. For satellite phones, it's very complicated. But she doesn't have to do it manually. Putting on gloves, the simplest thing to do is use this phone, and dial a number given by the CIA. A certain switchboard will take note of the location, the number, and type of phone where the call was made. What is best is that nothing can be traced of the call. All telecommunication companies in the US signed a contract with the Department of Home Security, in which a particular line is reserved for calls related to national security. Its use should never be monitored, and nothing must reflect its usage in any phone directory, anywhere in the United States. Laissez Ayon le Sheikh al-Musalihin. Alone in an executive suite at the Four Seasons Hotel, overlooking the 9/11 memorial, a man named Amir Ahmed Fadil thought of what life brought him so far. Who would have thought? A sadist smirk crossed his face. Commonly called Amir by his commanders, he is known among his warriors as Khalifa, the nominal leader of jihadists in the world. In 2006, he initiated a tactical operation meant to confuse the enemy. The strategy is to lure the US forces through the actions of Abu Abdul Rahman, in giving way to coalition forces the hideout in Hib. With the cooperation of other special operatives attached to the Tanzim Qaidat al-Jihad fi Bilad al-Rafadain, or Al-Qaeda in Iraq, after some weeks of feeding false information to Jordanian double agents, the heroic actions of the AQI martyrs succeeded.
A major U.S. tabloid ran a story on June 11, 2006 captioned, "At site of attack on Zarqawi, all that's left are questions." It posed some inaccuracies, on the manner that Abu Musab al-Zarqawi was killed in a bomb raid, at his hideout in Hib, Iraq. The U.S. Command spokesperson Major General William Caldwell in Baghdad, initially asserted that the leader of Jama'at al-Tawhid wal-Jihad was killed outright, by two 500-pound bombs dropped by a U.S. Air Force F-16C jet, a laser-guided GBU-12 and GPS-guided GBU-38. However, the general retracted later on, saying that the terrorist had lived long enough to be put on a stretcher, and had died shortly afterward of his wounds. The combat camera images of a reconnaissance drone showed a low-altitude profile of the area before, during and after the airstrike, with the bombed area in total destruction. The U.S. command also stressed that there were 6 dead, among them 3 women, denying news reports that the 5-year-old daughter of Zarqawi had been killed. On the other hand, CBS News quoted an Iraqi witness as saying, that when the Americans arrived, they beat Zarqawi on his stomach and wrapped his head with his dish dasha, then they stomped on his stomach and his chest, until he died and blood came out of his nose. The American Al-Mulahadan were fooled, praise Allah. We've released already the statements of Abu Abdul Rahman, about his martyrdom and that of other brothers, including the wives and daughter of Ahmed Fadil al-Nazil al-Khalili. The holy warrior happily accepted sacrificing his family, and his role of being beaten to death by elements of U.S. Delta Force, after ensuring that the prepared corpse of the Yemeni will be retrieved by the Americans. Abu Ayyub al-Masri, Zarqawi's trusted deputy, reported to him in a satellite burst transmission from a secured post in Baquba, some 50 kilometers, 31 miles, to the northeast of Baghdad. Execute a plan Harba. The Sheikh of the slaughterers commanded, and cut off the line.
The Emir recalled that when the mission report was called in by Masri near midnight of June 7, 2006, he was nursing a bottle of shipwrecked 1907 Hasiak. In Islamic jurisprudence, it is a forbidden substance, but despite its $275,000 price tag, he has to endure the liquor's barbaric taste, for the sake of Western look and lifestyle. Immediately, he took a shower, groomed himself and put on a luxurious white undergarment behind a silken green robe, the khilat, or dress of honor fully adorned with symbols signifying adherence to Sunnah Mu'akkada. He wore a black head wrap around a small white cap. He had to forego the flowing beard, for the sake of hiding his identity in ordinary days. He drawn from a gold and diamond encrusted receptacle, the ornately decorated Zulfiqar, the famous double-edged sword wielded by Prophet Muhammad, and later on used in conquests by Islamic commander Ali ibn Abi Talib. An inscription Sa'if ul-Hali signify an honorific award for military prowess. Ahmed, the man in the full-length mirror, is not unlike to the traditional image of Abu Bakr Abdullah ibn Uthman, the first Rashidun Caliph. Ahmed took his Sajadat as-Salad, and faced towards Mecca. He raised his index finger to signify Tawhid, expressing the unity of God, La ilaha illallah. He had recently ordered that this gesture be practiced by members of Al-Qaeda, ISIS and other allied jihadist organizations, both military and secular. He intoned a prayer to his fallen comrades. O Allah, forgive them, and elevate their station among those who are guided. Send them along the path of those who came before, and forgive us and them, O Lord of the worlds. Enlarge for them their graves, and shed light upon them in it. About 2 weeks ago, the Emir of Al-Qaeda in the country of Two Rivers, stood rigidly on the third-floor balcony of his mansion in Vero Beach, Florida. In his term, heroes and martyrs come and go. His dear friend and al-Thani fi al-Qaeda, Abu Ayyub al-Masri, was killed in action on April 8, 2010 during a joint American and Iraqi operation near Tikrit. Last October 27, 2019 in Idlib province of Syria, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the nominal caliph of the Ad-Dawla al-Islamiyya fi al-Iraq wa Sham, was killed in a raid conducted by Special Forces elements of the U.S. military. By virtue of authority and recognition as a duly elected Khalifa, by the Majlis ash-Shura in 2006, he designated Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurashi as Dabit fi al-Bariya of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. The ISIS is a militant group and a proto-state, that adapted a fundamentalist and Salaf jihadist doctrine. Using the internet, the Khalifa directed his associates in Iraq to upload well-censored information, related to the succession of al-Qurashi as his commander, to reassure believers of the stability of the organization. Being a faithful Qayyid of the late Osama bin Laden, and after the demise of Atiyah Abad al-Rahman in August 22, 2011, he became the sole regent of Al-Qaeda. Added up to his position as the primary caliph of ISIS in modern times, Amir Ahmed Fadil is the undisputed leader of the two largest undesignated terrorist organizations, conveniently disguised, and efficiently operating different cells and bases worldwide, from the United States. The execution of Uplan Harba is to solidify the strategy of killing the Abu Musab al-Zarqawi character, and consolidation of the Al-Qaeda and Islamic State alliance. The Central Intelligence Agency gravely erred, in assuming that you have been killed, his driver and aide-de-camp told him afterwards. What the CIA agents failed to realize was that, the one which got killed in the Hib safe house was Ahmed Fadil, a look-alike unknown suicide bomber from Yemen. It took many months to train this man to speak and act like Zarqawi, even plastering him with tattoos similar to the ones he used to have. He's confident that no DNA record can be matched for his identify, since his parents and siblings have gone into hiding from the public when he got involved in violent confrontations with the military, and started leading community thugs and radical Muslims during high school. The women were all psyched up Omani extremists, and along with the child, served as his family. His spiritual advisor, Abu Abdul Rahman, offered himself to coordinate the operation, and finally met his martyrdom. Mr. Al-Hassani, Senator Charles McCornell invites you for dinner, at about 7 o'clock tonight at the One World Trade. The senator's car will be here 15 minutes before the appointment. The hotel front desk called. He knows from several magazine reviews, that the food is of fine quality cuisine standards, but the exclusive and fine dining restaurant boasts a real billionaire's vista of Midtown Manhattan, the East River, and the Hudson. With its nearness to the United Nations headquarters, the One World Observatory culinary event is also a favorite rendezvous of high-flyer politicians, businessmen, technocrats, sports and entertainment stars, and other moneyed individuals negotiating international deals. Aaron, it came to my attention that the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Terrorism and Homeland Security will be conducting an inquiry pertaining to a recently apprehended member of Al-Qaeda in China. The committee chair, my party mate whom you have already met when we attended one of your charitable campaigns, implored me if you can help us on this matter. They were seated on the east side of the restaurant, with a bird's eye view of the city. The problem with political schemers is that they go directly to what they demanded. I'll do what I can, Senator. He made a non-committal remark. Senator McCornell pushed on, this guy is caught with a credit card under the name of a staff, employed in one of your companies, listed in New York Stock Exchange as a campaign contributor. It's barely a year to the next election. The man in the White House does not want his name to be dragged in any terror or security issue. The question is, what does a jihadist doing in Chinese turf, using your business identity? Maybe it's just a coincidence. Oh, don't be coy with me, the senator insisted. I know that a charity foundation of yours has an ongoing project at the Niaoji Mosque in Beijing. So, the big man above wanted this thing wrapped up nicely. The CIA is now busy looking for some plausible reason that what the PLA Intelligence Bureau caught was an Al-Qaeda straggler. Again, I'll do what I can, Senator McCornell. Aaron flattened his palms on the table to confirm the requested political favor, as he lifted the fork to start consuming the 5-course menu. The satellite phone was registered in Qatar to your boss in 2003, the CIA agent informed Hot Ice, on the status of the mysterious green phone in the office. Were you able to trace some numbers that may be of value? She is sure that it may have some digital marks of contacts that can be traced later on. It's still with DA. The agent replied, saying that the information is still with the Directorate of Analysis. Mark it as top priority. This may be the opening to a tunnel, or just another detour sign to a dead end. The door to her office opened, and Ahmed Fadil came in. Of course, I will take a Christmas vacation. Please extend my regards to my cousins. I have to go now, I have a meeting with my boss. Goodbye, Mama. She suddenly cut the line, making up a call to her family in the Philippines, for Ahmed not to suspect anything. As customary of him nowadays, he's always in a coat and tie, matched with the usual classic business pants. An Apple iPad mini completes the personal business outlook. A casino opened in Chinatown. As a partner, the proprietor invited me. I hope you can come too. Ahmed placed in her table one of her favorite pastries. This is just one of several enterprises that he has a controlling interest. The man had succeeded in business, where he failed in extremism. You knew so well, that I have nothing else to do after office. Of course, I will go. She shone of this unexpected date. Fine. Before going out, please pass by my office, and he left. You'll look best on it, he grinned after getting her surprised expression. As it turned out, she was given by Ahmed with a package containing a chic, designer clothes from Gucci. Anyone who does not know the previous personality of this man, would readily fall to his charm. But for Hot Ice, the chic of the slaughterers cannot effectively discard his dark past, despite the socialite and cosmopolitan aura of a gentleman. A mutual understanding of their relationship started earnestly, when the 2019 nCoV begun to manifest as a public health emergency. He invited her to come along with him to Afghanistan, to bring aids to the impoverished country. Using his friendship with some Pentagon officials, he was allowed to fly to Kabul, to install medical equipment and dispense relief goods, to several deprived communities of the city. The US government took advantage of this situation, as a propaganda tool in support of forging a conditional peace agreement with the Taliban. The proposal to the Afghan peace process was finally signed on February 29, 2020 between the United States and Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, calling for the withdrawal of foreign troops in 14 months, if the Taliban uphold the terms of the agreement. It was while they were in Kabul Serena Hotel, that he was reminded of his hidden character.
Amir, it's been so many years since the last time you've been here in Kabul. We saw you on TV, and how Allah, glorified and exalted be He, showered you with abundance. Hot ice lip-read a man, addressing Ahmed Fadil in a low voice at the poolside. His face changed to that of the old terrorist that he was, upon hearing those words. His rugged demeanor subsided, after being assured that no one could possibly hear them, as they are far from a crowd of boisterous guests. She can almost hear him saying, "You know the rules, we are in public." "My apologies, I was just excited to see you back again." Hot Ice is certain that Ahmed's companion could have been a commander in his previous outfit. The next series of conversation was on ordinary business dealings, and the changing political climate in Afghanistan. "I hope you can include Kabul in your next business expansion. With the coming peace, entrepreneurs like you can help a lot in bringing this country of ours back to its feet again." "Definitely, I will. Maybe the old lots at Kaldon, Al Farouk, Dirunta, and Tarnak farms can be requisitioned from the government for the establishment of new factories." Ahmed assured the man, "Inform the government that I can allocate to this proposed project as much as $250 million investment capital."
The anxiety of Hot Ice was palpable. While major antagonists, the US and Taliban, are back at the peace table, here comes a proposal to resurrect the old norm. In fact, 5 years ago, she recommended to the ECHO, a group in the intelligence community, to terminate Project Yan by Yat, with the justification that the war in Iraq and Syria rendered irrelevant the original intent of the project. In the same manner that its agent, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, who's been a pawn of the US in the first place, is apparently no longer connected with jihadist groups, being content in living a good life away from war. Her recommendation was approved. On January 1, 2015, Operation Freedom Sentinel was launched, a NATO-led resolute support mission in Afghanistan, with the objectives of sustaining efforts on counter-terrorism and working to strengthen its allies. With OFS, the CIA wanted to make an inventory of its assets, who's been engaged in the past with various projects in the country. Project Yan by Ya became a critical topic, as it relates to the ongoing offensives of the Islamic State in the Middle East. A quick search in Google revealed that the places indicated by Ahmed to be invested with multi-million dollars, actually harbored the camps and facilities used for militant trainings, and currently run by a variety of jihadist groups that are allied with Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the Islamic State launched vigorous new offensives in Iraq and Syria. According to an article published by the Wilson Center, the health emergency distracted the US-led coalition and local security forces to check the actions of the jihadist groups. By April 2020, the attacks became deadliest and most sophisticated, that include suicide bombings, nighttime ambushes of security forces and assassinations. This kind of offensive was last seen before the fall of the territorial caliphate, during the previous year. The ISIS weekly newsletter Al-Naba on its March 19 issue, justified their actions within the religious context, saying that, "Muslims must have no pity for the disbelievers and the apostates, even as they are at the height of their tribulation. They must intensify the pressure on disbelievers and apostates, so they become more pressured and incapable of harming the Muslims, by the permission of God. Because of a reduction of counter-terrorism operations due to COVID-19, the ISIS got hardened to reinvigorate its attacks. The ISIS took advantage of the reduced pressure from the coalition. Starting the second week of March, NATO had to pause its training missions, to avoid large gathering of military personnel in Iraq. The need to avoid the coronavirus infections led the United States to scale back its operations against the ISIS in both Iraq and Syria, while other coalition troops suspended joint raids with Iraqi forces and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. At the beginning of the second quarter of 2020, the terrorist group launched 151 attacks in both countries, and in the next month, about 193 attacks were reported. Hassan wrote in The Guardian that, if the pattern continues in the coming months, ISIS is likely to become a far greater threat, that will be much harder to contain than it is now. The international military intervention against Islamic State confirmed that the group's operations had grown more sophisticated during the pandemic. Based on a report of coalition forces, the ISIS attacks, especially in Iraq, displayed extensive pre-operational planning and preparation. Within the first half of the year, the ISIS offensives in Iraq were more audacious and larger scale than those conducted during the first 3 months of the year. In Syria, the jihadist forces briefly occupied territories held by the Assad regime. These incessant, and more resolute actions of the Islamic State indicates that the Khalifa has a comprehensive plan for a global jihadist offensive.
Thank you for watching. Write in the comments section for your request as to what book, usually from Project Gutenberg, you want us to feature in U-Book channel.
Click like to boost the rating of U-Book channel, make a comment for us for the improvement of our services, and share this video to your friends, with the copyright intact. Please click subscribe, and hit the bell button to be notified of new uploads from U-Book channel.